this episode, we are highlighting the versatility of the use and impact of the ZOLA method as a tool for engagement and healing for community empowerment. Ward 8 in Washington, D.C. is like many urban cities where the population has been disenfranchised. The community leadership of Ward 8 has chosen to take a unique approach to empowering the community. You will hear from Mustafa Abdul-Salaam and Nysheka Mack, community organizers and engagers, and why the community has chosen to take a health and healing approach to uplifting the community to be better able to use the resources and to use those resources effectively as they come into their community. In this political climate, this approach will be invaluable. We're going to start off with Mustafa. Could you just introduce yourself? And then we'll have Nysheka introduce herself and her role in the DC initiative.
All right. Well, thank you, Katora. My name is Mustafa Abdul-Salaam, and I'm the facilitator of the DC Digital Collective. And I've been working on this project for about 10 years, and it really centers around community economic development, which is a framework that has emerged over the last 20, 30 years to be the best framework for dealing with communities, because it's comprehensive in nature. It focuses on wealth building as a strategy, recognizing that poverty creates a lot of the problems that people have in communities like Ward 8, New Haven, and other communities of color that have dealt with historical structural racism and has limited our ability to take care of ourselves and be a self-sufficient population. So in Ward 8, we've had the opportunity in working with the residents to actually come up with a strategy. It took 3 years in the making. We interviewed over 1,000 residents and did over 20 town hall meetings and produced a report, a 70-page report that is the voice of the community. It's a strong voice because the city government had anything to do with it. We got money from a foundation to do the planning, and planning for predominantly Black communities is so unique to begin with. So this plan gives us an opportunity, instead of being planned upon, to actually come to the table with the city government and developers to have a clear voice in the direction of where we want to go. And so we have now created a vehicle, the DC Digital Collective, to actually organize residents, and our goal is to put 30,000 residents out there to advocate for this report and make sure, no matter who the elected official is, from the mayor on down, if they want our support, they have to support this report. And that's unique, you know, and particularly in DC, the Black population, particularly politically, is just taken for granted all the time. And there's no respect for the fact that we have an agenda like everybody else. So this report changes the dynamic. And in this report, the community identified trauma as a major problem that is addressing everything. And you can see it just walking the streets. You know, people are overwhelmed. They've been overwhelmed for a long time. They see gentrification staring them in the face. And gentrification is very terrifying because you get displaced. So we got a lot of stress coming on. And we see it in our young people. It's played out in the violence that happens in the community and all the dysfunctional behavior. And so we've got funding from the Bank of America to come up with a trauma strategy. We're tying into mental health. We know that the mental health of the community is a starting point. And so what we're trying to do is come up with strategies that the community can utilize without waiting for government or anybody else to heal themselves. Because we can't do economic development until people heal enough to even be able to concentrate on it, you know? And so we are looking at support groups as our primary way of getting to the community to address this healing, because we know enough about support groups that it's one of the better techniques. And having known ZOLA over the years and know the work that Katora has done and the impact that she has had, and dealing with this whole conversation around trauma, we felt it made sense to have her come in and talk to us and help us figure it out. And I think what unique is about what ZOLA presents is that Katora has the clinical expertise to really understand on a clinical level what trauma looks like, but she also has the knowledge of the community and the understanding of the community dynamics to be able to articulate that to the community in a way that they can appreciate that it's beyond clinical, that this is a human dynamic that most clinicians don't really understand. And Nysheka is part of our team. She's the person focusing on the support groups as well as just trauma in general. She comes with a lot of hands-on experience being in the community, working in the mental health field. And so we're fortunate that she decided to come in and want to work with us. And in a relatively short period of time, in 6 months, we've been able to begin to have a presence and change the dialogue about what mental health looks like, particularly from the bottom up. So I'll turn it over to Nysheka to talk a little bit about her experience with this and where she sees us going in this process.
Okay.
Peace and blessings, Nysheka.
Peace and blessings, Ms. Katura. Wonderful to see you again. Thanks for having us. So I'm Nysheka Mack. I'm the outreach facilitator for DCDC. Just want to follow up what Mr. Mustafa was saying. One of the reasons that we know that ZOLA is a good fit for DCDC and we want to partner with you guys is the structure that you bring. I want to talk about that in the support groups. We do support groups all the time, and when we do them, we don't really have structure. The one thing that I got from you was that structure. I love it. Also, the clinical piece that you have to be able to train us as facilitators, I think is phenomenal, because a lot of us, we do have the life skills. We have been through the trauma, we survived the trauma, but we don't have that clinical part that you bring, that gift that you bring. So I always say it's one thing to have the educations, but to actually go through something and to know where people are coming from, and to be able to relate to them is phenomenal when you're working with our people, because they want you to be relatable. And Ms. Katura, you really have a gift for that. You have a motherly gift, then you have the clinical background, and then you're very relatable. You're easy to talk to. So I'm excited for all that we're going to do with ZOLA. DCDC just starting in DC, so we're like you guys. We soon will be in New Haven, and you guys will come down here. So I'm looking forward to the partnership.
Thank you, Nysheka. And we're going to take a little pause.
Please like, share, subscribe to the channel of the ZOLA Experience. It's all about love YouTube channel. And go to our website, www.thezolaexperience.org, where you will find out all the information that you would like about ZOLA. You have an opportunity to let us know that you would like to join and experience a ZOLA circle. And also for you to donate to the cause. And I want to welcome my angel donor for supporting us on this venture. And you're saying to me, well, who is this angel donor? I don't know their name yet, but I know that they're there and they're going to contact me. So that's positive affirmation, positive manifestation. Okay, so we're going to get right into it from where we left off in our last episode. I'm just really excited about the DCDC initiative, but I know how human behavior is. And the first thing they're going to ask, particularly of you two, is have you experienced a ZOLA circle before? Like, what is it that you're asking us to do? So, Nysheka, I'm going to give you an opportunity for you to share your experience with having come through the 7 sessions ZOLA Experience, the 7-session wellness that we do. So can you just share with the community what your experience was like? You people listen to you. And I know for myself, if they say, well, if you survived therapy, perhaps I can survive therapy, right? So how did that impact you? And what insights did you gain about yourself?
So I was thinking, what insights did I gain about myself? Well, first I want to say, because I'm a support group facilitator And because I'm in support groups all the time, it was a difference, like I spoke about earlier, in the ZOLA experience. That's the one thing that I want to say. It was different from many other support groups that I went to. It was structured. You knew how to bring us back in. And for me, it was more for training. So I guess I really can't say the insight that I got, but I can say what I learned and where I was lacking as a facilitator, if that makes sense. So in that group, I learned to be more patient. I learned to listen more. I learned, like, when someone's going off track in the support group, how to bring them back in. I really love those techniques that you taught. Like I said earlier, it was a really safe space. One of the most amazing things from the support group that we did with you is it's hard to get people to come to support groups. People were so invested, and the space was so safe for them, and so many people, so many other people learned so much about themselves and the trauma that was laying doormat, I would say, that they came back the second day. So the first day, the same amount of people we had came back the second day. And that speaks maybe to listeners right now. It's like, okay, they came back, but that speaks volumes because the people
Absolutely.
were invested in their healing and they were able to get free. I had people in the group that I know that never talked about, the suicide that took place or the molestation that took place in their life. And they just found a space where they were safe at. And they're in support groups all the time. But in this group, they were able to open up and express themselves and pour out. And even now, they're still asking, like, well, when y'all going to do it again? When is ZOLA coming back? So that's my take on what happened at the group.
Okay. So thank you. Mustafa, we know that for men to engage in any type of an experience where they may think that they're going to be vulnerable or feel vulnerable or self-disclosure is an issue. Can you talk about your experience as an elder, as an African American male, having gone through what has been your personal experience and those things that you've learned about yourself, as well as how might it benefit other men to engage in the ZOLA circles?
Yeah, well, it's been very insightful. I'm blessed to have two sons who understand the ZOLA experience and participate in support groups with them. It has allowed us to, grow in ways as fathers and sons that is very powerful. And so, I feel very good about the fact that I have that relationship with them. And because we've been in the same space where we can, really connect, in terms of our emotions and the traumas, we've been able to share. And I think it has helped us have a deeper appreciation of, me being their father and them being my son. And not having that kind of dynamic in my own personal life, growing up, it has been even more powerful because I believe through the ZOLA experience, it has helped me appreciate to be the father to myself that I didn't have. And for Black men in particular, I think that's a tremendous challenge because I'm 71 years old and I'm still, have times where I miss that fathering, And so when I'm with younger males, I understand that they're looking for the same thing. And so that kind of dynamic creates opportunities to have a community that we can make it the community that we don't have. So for a lot of these young males that sit in the group, having father issues because of abandonedness, I become a father figure in a way. And even though I'm dealing with my own issues around, being fatherless, in terms of him not being in my life, I'm able to convey, my feelings in a way to help them understand that you can grow, you can evolve, you can heal, even though that's their trauma. And that you have a responsibility to learn from that so you can be a better father, so you don't perpetuate that loss. and you help you're even more conscious of the need to connect with your sons and your daughters because of that experience. And I think, again, having a safe space, having structure, having, people who are connected to the community, feel good about the community, participating is what creates a sense of community. So when you leave the ZOLA circle, you're much more willing to engage in the larger discussion of how we heal the whole community.
Yes. Wow, thank you. That was pretty powerful and very important message for folks to understand. Yeah, part of what we do, you guys were involved in a co-ed experience, right? We do some co-ed experiences, but part of that experience, we had you separate so that you could have these gender-specific spaces. So what was that like for you? Because that may be the model that we may use from time to time in the community, is have a co-ed and then we separate and then we come back.
That little
Say
time
that
that we spent, I think, was very helpful. The little time we spent outside of the cooperative, a lot of things came up. And I think it was triggered by being in that space of co-op group and then coming out and realizing, that we had an opportunity to talk to myself. So what we're looking at is creating a number of opportunities for particularly Black men to come together. One of our associates is putting together a study group of Black men that can easily evolve into a support group. But even on a larger picture, we're engaged in talking to creating what we're calling the Council of Black Men Leadership as a vehicle to begin to bring Black men into the discussion of how we heal the community. Because historically, traditionally, Black men have been encouraged from a lot of different sources not to connect to the community in a very healthy way. And the community has missed their leadership because of that. So
exactly.
We want to use this council as a way of encouraging, Black men to appreciate that their leadership is needed. The report that we have, they need to own that. This report that we have, they need to see this as their plan for the community. And so this council will give us an opportunity to really have that kind of conversation. And again, encourage them to get into these support groups. We are planning, and I'll let Nysheka talk a little bit more about it, but we want to get an active calendar of support group activities and other things like mixers, where in addition to the support group, we can have some social outlets. So I'll turn it over to you, Nysheka, to talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, so right now we're in the process of creating a digital collective calendar, and in that calendar, it'll be where the support group hubs will be at in the DC area. We're also planning mixers. We have different themes each week, so it'll be like co-op mixers, therapist mixers, mental health core agency mixers. And the reason why we're doing that is because we're trying to be the glue that brings all these different communities together. Because if we're divided, how are we going to heal? So we're trying to just get these mixes together so the community can get to know each other. Where we live at right now, we have mental health core agencies where our office is located. We have about 12 to 15 different mental health core agencies. I cannot make this up. So we want to start having those mixers so that they can come together, get to know each other, find out what we're lacking. Why do we have all these agencies and the community is still suffering? No one is being healed. So just to find those missing pieces and being that glue to bring us all together. So that's what we will be doing. And as far as the support groups, I think I'm really excited about that. And that's where we need to basically continue to work with ZOLA Act so that we can have those structured support groups all around DC. So somebody can get online and say, oh, it's Wednesday. ZOLA's having a support group on Good Hope Road. One is happening at the Arc on Thursday. So just getting the community active, letting them be able to click on there, always having access to that support that they need. So, yeah.
Well, this sounds really, really exciting. And to be able to expand this intervention into clinical settings, to have an opportunity to talk with those individuals at the mixer that are part of agencies. Because as you had mentioned before, there's a disconnect somewhere, right? And so we have a tool that can kind of close that disconnect gap and have a common language throughout the community around loss, trauma, and grief, then that would be of such benefit to the growth and development of and the cohesiveness of the community, because we know that ZOLA can be the ZOLA experience can be integrated into any setting. If you're a hospital setting and you're, let's say you're in the a common area for Black and brown people that they find themselves in is the hypertensive clinic, right? So you've been given this diagnosis and there's no support around that, in the sense of, do you have a collective space where these individuals can come together and talk about not just the diabetes, because we know that we have these diabetes education groups. We talk about nutrition and we'll put that in quotes. They'll tell you about how to do the mechanics of the diabetes. But we're talking about in ZOLA is the impact of you trying to live with this particular situation. It is a loss for you. You've come from a space where a space of health, and you've done some things, and now you're in a space of dis-ease. That is a major change. I know personally for myself, when they told me that I had a sluggish thyroid, like hypothyroid, really? Of course, me being with the background that I had, I looked it up. It was like, I don't fit the profile. And I struggled with embracing the fact that even though there are some symptoms that I had, that I struggled with that. I had to use my social circle to help me to process and resolve it. But if I had a ZOLA circle, if they had in that clinic, look, you're newly diagnosed, we're going to send you to the ZOLA circle that focuses on that, because ZOLA doesn't focus on the disease. It focuses on the impact. It doesn't focus on the fact that you already know you have an amputation, right? But what is the impact on you, your body image, your family, your integration back into the community, all of those kind of things. So this is what we're talking about. And the idea of you having these cafes where these individuals come in, they also need to, the conversation about, let's shine the mirror on us. Like, what are we doing that's not engaging? What are we doing that is impeding individuals from getting to a state of wellness?
Yes.
What needs to happen? It's got to change. The healthcare system, everybody says the healthcare system is broken. The healthcare system, and I'm a part of it, it's terrifying. It's like, God forbid something happens and you have to enter into that system. And we struggle with the same situation. What is the number one thing that impedes positive health and wellness? And that is those isms, like racism, sexism, all of those isms that our professionals aren't given the training to deal with. Why? Because they haven't had their own ZOLA experience. They haven't had a conversation about, well, how do you feel about being this person, this profession, and interacting with the populations that you are serving.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's broad.
I like that.
Yeah, it's broad because even dealing in the schools with this educators coming to us saying we need ZOLA or we need support groups, because not only are we dealing in the classroom, when we going home, with some of the same issues that the students and their parents are facing. So to create an environment where everybody appreciates, the more we individually heal ourselves, the more the whole community can heal. Is important, because the Western mindset is so individualized that you're taught and trained that you got to be this island. You got to be self-contained. You can't let anybody know your weakness, which is so anti-human being. And so to free people up where they can begin to appreciate the more I come together and share, the more I let people see my vulnerability, the more human I become, and the more I connect with other human beings, is key. But we're not going to get that from the larger community because they don't operate that way. So this is why this bottom-up movement is so important. We know what our solutions are. We know what our answers. We don't have to wait for somebody to come tell us. We just need the space, the resources, and the support to go ahead and do it. So we got this 20-year plan, and the foundation is to get healthy enough that we can have a common vision so that we can position our children to take us to that 20 years.
But I think the most exciting piece that I see living in the space that I'm living in and being able to observe from the outside is the coming together, and that the community has a 20-year plan as opposed to a tomorrow plan, right? And that is even shaky, right? So that way you can address those individuals who are gatekeepers that are keeping us away from moving forward, because the community is not going to tolerate that, because the community has a plan. The community has a vision, right?
That's right.
And
That's
the
right.
healthier the individuals are, then that increases the opportunity for that vision and for that plan to be executed.
Well said. Well said. It is getting the community recognized. The only one that can stop this community is themselves. You know, if you believe in what they're telling you, then yeah, you're going to buy into that. But if we collectively say, no, we can create a whole nother different reality. This is not our best reality, then that's where we're going to put our energy at.
So the exciting thing for me is that we're doing this on both from coast to coast, literally. You know, the DC, the Seattle Africatown team and the DC team, you're on the same page, and that for me
is exciting.
Is so heartwarming for me, because it says to me as an elder that we're going to do this. We are doing it. We are making the change. We are the change.
That's right. We are the change. Yeah, we're 6 months into this. We started January 24. Nysheka was one of the first people we brought in. Matter of fact, you know, we were involved in the planning as early as the fall, but we didn't get resources and actually set up the operation to January 1st. So in that short period of time, we had the ZOLA training. We have done a number of ambassadors that we're working with. We have a social media, and just let me plug that if you want to see what we're doing, we have a website, www.dc-dc.org. The report is on there. You can download the report. You can get information. You can even sign up to be members, and we'll take, you know, a few outside members from New Haven and about, and because we want people to really be engaged with what we're doing. So I appreciate you giving us this platform. This is helpful. We're excited, like you said, making this a national model, and I think with the community economic development framework, ZOLA fits right in there, and it's just a matter of people understanding how the importance of being comprehensive, and the fact that we got to make mental health, not even mental health, being healthy as a human being, having high self-esteem. If we can get people, particularly our children, to feel good about themselves, everything will take care of itself. You know, I mean, because we got what we need, everything. You know, it's just that we got to be plugged into it. You know, and I think the more people come to like an experience like ZOLA, where they can hear other people talk about their lives and what works for them, and appreciate that as bad as you think you are, you're not that bad. There's somebody else worse off. And so if you don't have anything to be grateful about, be grateful that you're not as bad up as you think. That's healthy, you know. That's and the more we can get people to appreciate that and see that, the more people are going to heal, you know.
So thank you both so very, very much for being part of the ZOLA family. We are so excited about the integration of the ZOLA experience into the Ward 8 community. I just say that if those of you that are listening and sharing this podcast, to join the DCDC.org initiative, we may be able to duplicate this in your community as well. And it's all duplicatable. And
Yes,
we
it is.
thank you for joining us. And like, share, subscribe to the ZOLA Experience. It's all about love. And go to the website, www.thezolaexperience.org, and get in touch with us so that you too can be a part of the ZOLA family. So thank you, Mustafa, and thank you, Nysheka, and peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. Thank you.
Open your heart.